welcome to another episode of the Raw Barbell Club podcast. If you're new to our channel, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, guys, I'm so glad to have you back. If you have any comments or questions about this episode, please leave them below and make sure you click that subscribe button just down here and click that notification tab so you get updates on when our next episode is out.
One time, the Supertotal was at man, that street before you turn into CrossFit Aridi has the nicest trees I've seen in Sydney.
Oh, where the raft base is?
I think so. But
Yeah.
just seeing those trees was enough to make me happy.
I'm just going to start it and we'll just talk.
Okay. Yeah, because there's something about trees that I find, no matter whether they're dead, or not dead, but you know, when the leaves are all gone, but when they're all in a line and they're so sequentially spaced, there's something so weirdly satisfying about that. I could look at it all day.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel the same way. When I was in Canada and doing like all those hikes and stuff, there's something like a lot of the photos I took were just of like pine trees, like and if you look at the way I edit those photos, it's mainly just to see the structure of like straight up, down, straight up, down, straight up, down.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I like it
Can
too.
you show me later?
Yeah.
What color were they?
Pine trees?
No, the leaves. What color were they?
Green?
Okay.
Why, do you like red leaves?
I like all leaves, but when it's red, there's this. I remember when I first got my Windows XP 2000 back in like 2005. That was like 2005. I waited a long time until we got it.
What is that called? You're a late, not a late adopter, early adopters, late. You're like at the end of the curve.
I'm in the middle.
Okay.
I'm in the middle. It's like the rich people are the early adopters, and then the late adopters are the guys who don't really care, and then the middle is where I am, probably.
The sheep. That's where the sheep are.
Yeah. I let the people go first. When it comes to tech, I let the people go first because I don't know enough, and I don't see any potential in it that other people can see. But yeah, there used to be the first screensaver was like a street or something, or a parkway, and it was just a seat, and then the trees on either side, and it was autumn, and it was golden, and I just sat there and watched that screensaver for probably 10 minutes because that was that pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny how photos can do that, and I think that's what people find in art really mesmerizing. Whereas some people will look at an artwork and just be like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah, that's me.
Next.
Yeah, it's me. I find no intrinsic satisfaction looking at art, but with a photo, and in real life as well. Yeah, but I was having a thought to myself last week. I was watching the sunset, and I was thinking, why do I like the sunset so much, and why do I like that moment just before the sun rises? And I think it's the interchange between two things that makes it really just beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And for the record, I don't advise looking into a sunset, like actually at the sun. It kind of hurts your eyes, even with sunglasses. But yeah, it was just that moment right before it goes away, and there's that golden, and there's three colors behind it. I just find that so intrinsically satisfying, and I don't know why.
Have you ever watched like time lapses of sunsets and
Yes.
sunrises? Do you like watching those?
Haven't really thought about it. Like, I'd watch the whole thing when it starts,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd probably skip ahead until it's
That
that
bit,
part. Yeah,
your
and then I
favourite
just watch
bit?
that part. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I haven't thought about that.
I think it's really funny how quickly it happens.
Yeah.
Like the sun rises very fast and sets really fast, but the in-between part takes so long.
Yeah, and no one cares.
Nah.
No one cares about that part.
Well, you have the day to, like, you got shit to do, man.
Yeah, pretty much.
Gotta work, gotta play, gotta train.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I don't give a shit about the middle. It's only the beginning and the end. I went to a sunrise yesterday, woke up at 4, got there, and the spot I picked, there was a building right in front of where the sun was rising. And I was so dissatisfied. Woke up at 4 to get there, felt drunk for the rest of the day, and I didn't see anything.
What time do you normally wake up?
Now I'm inching towards before 6. So it's about 5:50, 5:45. Used to be about 6:30, I'd naturally wake up. But now, weirdly, I just seem to move further and further back, naturally. Like I set my alarm clock for 5:40 today, and I got up at 5:20.
You know what that means, right?
I'm aging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
getting old.
Oh, you can't fight it, I guess. I'm ready. Like, I'm embracing it.
That's what happens when you get older. People wake up earlier and earlier.
Yeah, but then it's also, I feel like the earlier I wake up, the sense of time dilates. I feel like the days are longer, even though I probably sleep 30 minutes earlier. The days feel longer. Like yesterday, got up at 4. By the time it was 9, I felt like it was 2.
Well, it's only like, what, 10, 11 o'clock, and you've already had like, what, 7 coffees?
3. Yeah.
Do you drink a lot of coffee?
3 a day?
And usually all before 10?
Yeah.
I don't understand how you've had 3 coffees already.
So when I wake, okay. So you know the instant coffee? You
Yeah.
have the small spoon. So I have 2 shots, two spoonfuls
Okay,
in
so
the morning.
does that count as 2 coffees then?
So I'll say 2 coffees.
I see.
Is that right?
So it's like a double shot.
So I'll have a double shot in the
Yeah.
morning. I go train. Come back.
What time do you train?
I'll get to the gym about.
Because you train twice a day now, right?
Yeah. So 6:30. I'd start. Today I started at 6.
Yeah.
I was out by 7, and then I get home, I work, and then I'll have my second one at about 9:30 or 10. And that's only 1 spoon.
When do you eat?
Whenever.
Okay, so you won't come back from the gym and eat, or you will?
If I have a client and I'm
Yeah.
in a rush, not. Yeah, nah. I have a slice of toast before I train,
Okay.
but that's more just because I like peanut butter and jelly,
Yeah.
not because I'm actually, I need carbs for my workout.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I come home, if I'm in a rush, I won't eat. I'll eat at like 12 or 1, and then I won't eat again till, dinner.
I understand why you're a featherweight weightlifter now.
I think I've shared this with you before. I don't have the hunger pangs that a lot of people say they have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like an addiction to me when they're
Other
hungry.
people talk about food.
Yeah. Or well, no, it's the way hunger controls them.
Yeah.
Their personality changes when they get hungry, whereas my own doesn't. I just go, oh, okay, cool. Like, I'm hungry, but if you told me I can't eat for another 6 hours, sweet.
Can you feel like a lessening of performance when you, let's say if you fasted the whole day and then trained, or do you not feel that?
It depends on what I'm doing. I would say in the first 15 to 20 minutes, nothing. But then definitely as the session goes on, more and more.
That hunger as well is suppressed by caffeine.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. But even when I wasn't drinking too much coffee.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think I've told you back in high school, I used to didn't have coffee.
Yeah.
But I'd wake up at 7, have breakfast, and then I wouldn't eat until 4:30, 5.
But were you training then?
Nah. Oh, well, I was playing school sport.
Yeah. Okay.
And going through school, not eating anything until 4.
And what did you weigh when you were back then?
The heaviest I got to in high school was 68.
Oh, okay. So you weren't like super light.
No.
You were actually more competitive when you were lighter.
In the weight class.
In the weight class.
Yeah, I think my peak was 68 when I played rugby.
Yeah.
And I wasn't fat or anything.
Yeah.
Um,
Where'd you go to school again?
Sefton High School.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, out
Near the
Bankstown.
playhouse.
Yes, yes. What do you think happened when some of the boys turned 18? I never went, but a lot of them would talk about it. Oh, where we're going. And there's always that cheeky grin. We're gonna go have a beer. Sure, you go do that. The next day, they have a weird grin on their face, like something's happened to them, like it's the best thing of their life, and yeah.
Become a man.
Yeah. Like, hey bro, how was your night yesterday? Happy birthday. Yeah, thanks. It was good. Start wearing a tie when did you start wearing a tie? I'm a gentleman now.
That's not even part of our uniform.
I'm a gentleman now.
Oh, man, people are funny.
Yeah.
But I find that too. Like, so when I don't train a lot, I won't eat. If I'm busy with work and stuff, I won't eat. If I'm on holidays, just like appetite just doesn't. It's not a big thing. But if I'm training heaps, I do get hungry.
As you should, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
what were you talking about the other day was something that I kind of knew, but like it never really clicked to me that like when someone's overtrained, their appetite disappears. And I was like, oh, wow. And I actually wrote it down in my notes, like, you know, watch out for that in your, you know, athletes and stuff. Because it's just something that, you know, you might have been told this like a million times, but it always takes is one person to just bring it back up again and be like, oh yeah.
Yep. I learned that after exercise sports science literature.
Yeah.
When they talked about overtraining, there's a point where I think, like you said, one thing clicks and it all comes together, and it's called that ripple effect, where one thing clicks and then suddenly everything sort of cascades. Have you read a book called Think Fast and Think Slow?
Nah.
You'd really enjoy this book.
Okay.
But one of the concepts in it is when you have an idea, it's not just the one idea, it's that idea plus everything that your memory can associate with that idea.
That makes sense.
Right. So then, within probably not my own training, I don't think I've ever had too bad of an overtraining thing, but definitely with a couple of people I've spoken to, they're telling me about how they're training really well. They've got niggles here and there, and then it's always I feel really tired, and I'm just not hungry. And then like those two things are pretty big, right? Because usually when you're really tired, you like to eat more. But then why have you lost your appetite despite training so hard? Physically, we should be eating more. And that's when you know something's off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like you can even, part of overtraining is like loss of ability to sleep. Like, what's it called when you can't sleep?
Insomnia.
Insomnia. Like if you have insomnia-like symptoms, that's like another sign that you're like overtraining, right?
Yeah, and then I think you can just correlate the evidence on the program. And as a coach, if you look at your program and you think, well, hopefully, you know that something in your program didn't make sense for them to feel this way.
Yeah.
Then sure. But if it all makes sense, like one of my guys, he started getting knee pain, tendinopathy, and you know I hate that. I hate tendinopathies, and that's like my thing. It's my jam. So my programs, I always account for this low distribution, so I never have to face that injury.
Yeah.
So he started getting it, and I'm like, why? What did you do? Did you follow it to a T? And that's when he opened up and said, yeah, I may have been pushing the back squats up 5 kilos every week, despite the program saying keep the back squats the same every single week. So then if you're hearing this and hopefully your athlete's honest with you, then you're like, okay, well, my program's fine, and yet they're overtrained. They seem to be overtrained. What's happening? So then you have to go, okay, well, how much are you sleeping? And they say, I'm sleeping 7 hours or 6 hours. But are they really? You know, or like, what else are you doing outside? Are you good?
Time in bed also doesn't equal time sleeping.
Exactly. What are you doing in bed, Netflixing or whatever?
Chilling.
Are you chilling? Yeah. Are you on 2-3 times of F45 a week that you're not telling me about? Maybe. Are you doing runs you're not telling me about? All these things, if what is happening is true based off your program and what they're telling you, then there's something off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when people who haven't lost weight tell me they've stuck to some sort of deficit. Something's off there. If you had a ridiculously low deficit, like I've had somebody come to me and say they've been on 1200 and they're big, right? They're on 1200, they've been on it for 2 weeks straight and they haven't lost a kilo. I look at that and I think something's off. Either you're lying to me, or I have no other explanation why you haven't lost weight.
Yeah.
So someone's got to be honest and needs to be called out sometimes.
And so with this dude that was squatting, what did you do?
Oh, I actually wanted to talk about this because we managed to I'm not going to say get rid of it,
Yeah.
but he's essentially pain-free now, and I never had him stop training. So this it's going to get a bit clinical, but
That's okay.
the first thing I did was
You're getting excited. You're like, I'm
because I actually really wanted to, because I know there's weightlifters that listen to this.
Yeah.
And
Hopefully.
well, if you're listening, hello, all three of you. Because I know a lot of weightlifters struggle with this problem, myself included. I think Yannick's had it on his quad before. And I've talked about this before on volume changes, how that has an impact. But then what happens when you get it? And this guy is my own guy, so I know that whatever I've said in the past is a good way to go about it. Sample size 1, but also other people I've used in the clinic before. So the first thing you have to understand is whatever load they were on specific to that tendon, so I'm going to say back squats, before the increase has to stay. So he was on, let's just say 100 kilo front squats, or back squats, before he started going to 105, 110, and his knee flared up. So that 100 kilo where he was fine has to stay. There's a specific angle that it hurts, which was for him at the bottom of the squat.
When it's at full stretch, like.
Full stretch, yeah.
So the knee joint is at the most obtuse angle.
The most acute angle.
Acute angle, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I've calculated from the other way around. The knee doesn't even go that way.
Hopefully it doesn't.
Not
in weightlifting anyway.
For a different type of injury.
I can't help you there, man. Anyway, so then you've got, with tendons anyway, you have specific angles that hurt. So think of it as a bruise first. Unless you tap that bruise, it's not going to hurt. And for the quad, it's, for him anyway, it was deep knee flexion. So then we can't take that away because that is the rehab. So I kept his squats because I knew that tendons need loading. And his last pain-free loading was 100. So we kept that. But we also know that there are movements that tendons, while they're aggravated, don't tolerate that well, which are the quick bouncy ones. So I removed cleans. I replaced them with power cleans. Funnily enough, when he snatched, he had no problems. So my explanation for that is different hip angle, different foot position, the minuscule changes in the femur angle are enough to turn that irritated side away from any bone contact. So that's fine. He can still snatch. He still squatted, but he kept the weight the same every single week, and we monitored his symptoms. So he was still on a full training program. First week, not much change. His knee was about 3 out of 10 in the morning. Second week, not much change. By the third week, he was down to about 2. So then I said, bump up the weight. So then he went to about 102 or 105, I forget. Kept the same. Just keep doing the same thing. We're not going to do any deep cleans until you're pain-free with your squats. After about, I think, 6 or 7 weeks, knee was at like a 1 out of 10, and he was still squatting about 104, 105-ish. Then I introduced cleans again. And then another 2 or 3 weeks later, it's fine. So that whole course took about probably 8 to 12 weeks. But we never stopped training, and we never stopped loading. And now he's fine. He's fine. And he's back squatting like 170 now for triples. And this was only this year. So if you're a weightlifter out there who has a tendon problem and your physio is telling you back off, specifically what are you backing off and why are you doing it? So I don't like the idea of just doing box squats for the rehab, because you're avoiding that part that is actually relevant to your rehab. You wouldn't be here if it didn't hurt at that bottom stage. So of course it's not going to hurt when you do a box squat, and that's shit rehab. Unless you're doing it for a different purpose, like, oh, we just want to maintain your hinge strength or your spinal strength, erector, that's different. But if it's specifically your exercise for your tendon, then I think there are better ways.
100%.
Yeah.
I think the only reason you would box squat would be to offload the muscle groups. So like, let's say you have a lifter that for some reason is ridiculously like quad dominant, has no glutes or hamstrings, and you specifically want to train that, then I'd have them box squatting, you know, with that real deep sit back, so that they're actually loading those things more.
Yeah.
But and we know, like, for tendon rehab, like, you know the history of tendon rehab, right? Like how this dude basically wanted to destroy his tendons. So he's like, what can I do to do that? I will do the most, I'll put them through hell. And he's like, oh, actually, I feel better.
They got stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and just as a bit of a tangent, the decline board,
Like what I have downstairs.
what you have downstairs, I think the mechanism behind a decline board is great. You're just biasing a lot of load onto the tendon.
Yeah.
But what gets me a bit irritated is when people talk about the decline board as the sole reason, like the sole rehab tool. It's like, it's not. The decline board gives you an angle. You can find that angle in other ways. It doesn't have to be the board. You can have just your weightlifting shoe, raise a platform, and it's the same angle,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, don't pay $65 for a decline board. Just find an angle, use your shoe, and put something underneath, and you've got the same thing.
The decon board's easy.
It is easy. It is easy.
And it's easy to set up. It's ease of use. And what's the biggest problem with rehab?
Complexity.
Adherence.
Oh, adherence, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get better if you're not adhering to your rehab.
That's true.
So if you're getting people to like set up shoes plus plates plus whatever, like that's another thing in the way of them doing it.
Yeah, and that's a good point you raise, because that's also the same thing for when you give training programs.
Yeah.
The more complex you make it, the less likely they're going to stick to it. Or even the harder you make it, the less likely they're going to stick to it. Unless you have that individual who is so good he finds everything easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you have like that strange type A person that wants to make everything harder than it has to be.
Yeah, yeah. And sorry, I'm going to keep going with this tendon thing. The loading that you go through with this stuff, if you're struggling with a tendon problem and you haven't backed off your load, if it is a load-based problem, and then you get given eccentric squats on top of your program as rehab, that's most likely going to flare you up some more.
They should replace your squats.
Well, they should at the very least look at your squat. Or if you've got squats in your program, you're doing the rehab already. That can be modified. Make it slower, don't use the balance, stuff like that, reduce the load. That can be your rehab. Whereas when I get stories and conversations of people who go to see someone or get recommended by their coach that they need to do eccentric decline board squats to improve their tendon, but there's no regard for the load in the program,
Yeah.
then of course it doesn't work, because you're adding more on top of something that doesn't want any more.
I agree, man.
Yeah, I'm just had to put it out there. Like,
No, I get it. It's a pet hate of mine as well. When if you have a coach and a physio that they don't talk,
Yes.
it pisses me off so much. I'll have like the greatest success you can ever have is when your physio and your coach talk, and they say, "This is what I want this athlete to be doing." The physio says, okay, this is sort of what I think they need to be doing to get them there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the coach takes all of that advice, all of that programming on board and implements it into the program. It has to be implemented into the program. It can't just be like, we're just going to do this, make sure you do your rehab when you get home.
Yeah.
All of that stuff happens in the gym.
Yeah.
And yes, it can happen more than just in the gym. Like, obviously, things that are quite low load. Incline incline board squats aren't like really high load, so they probably can do that multiple times a day if they're splitting up their sets and reps. But yeah, for sure, like that stuff needs to be in the gym.
And that's an interesting point you touch on, because you've got three competing stakeholders here. Let's just say they're all trying to do their role. So the athlete's trying to just get better. The coach wants the athlete to get better. And then you've got the physio who wants the athlete to get better. But what it looks like for everyone's different. So the physio wants you to be injury-free, continue to perform. The coach may want you to just consistently perform.
Yeah, and then they're a fucking dumb coach.
Well, this is where it gets to be a problem. Let's just say you're an athlete and it's out of your hands.
Yeah.
For now, you just listen. So we'll just talk about these two. If you're the physio and you say to the coach, this part of the program is making him worse, please modify. A, coach will go, okay, sure, you're the professional, I'll listen to you. Or B, potentially, screw you, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm going to go find a physio who agrees with my thinking. And there's obviously a complex layer there, because the physio may not know what he's talking about either.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've had physios in the past, in terms of tendons, tell someone just rest. So he's not good to listen to.
Yes.
But then to the coach as well, your biases aren't doing your program or your lifters any favors. Yeah, and you just have to look at the history. If you're a coach and consistently you find that your athletes have like a tendon problem, what does that say? And let's just say they're sticking to your program. What does that say about your programming? That's my little rant about that whole thing.
You don't understand how fired up I am right now. I don't know
cool.
if you can see my body language.
Yeah, you're like getting
but
ready
I'm
to
like,
fight.
yeah, like this is something that's near and dear to me.
Yeah.
It's something that I get so mad about. The only time ever that you should push somewhat through a niggle or injury is if you have a serious, very important competition coming up. If you're competing at the Commonwealth Games, like you were, and you had some sort of knee tendinopathy, you have a background in physiotherapy, obviously, you understand that, you know, you're not gonna, like your need for performance outweighs your need for, like to rehab that to an extent, right?
Yes.
The further you out from an important comp though, or if you're not competing, like I think we're also talking about slightly different populations in this case. You're talking about people at the highest level.
Yep.
I'm talking about people at the level that I coach.
That's mean to yourself.
Yeah? Like, in terms of like, it's a general population.
Yeah.
These are people that love to train.
Yep.
They compete. They train hard. They're strong as fuck. But they've got other things in their life.
Yeah.
It's more important for them to be able to get through the day than it is for them to, you know, give up everything for this one competition down the line.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely. Yeah, because it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. What I like about what you do here is everyone here lifts and they love to lift, and they also have so much like fun doing it. Yeah. I find that there's this, depending on who you speak to, I guess, but weightlifting or whatever you're doing, it shouldn't be like your sole identity. Like you shouldn't base your happiness on your training. It could be a good part of it, but if you're not having a good training cycle, it's okay. There's other things that you can do. Like if training is the only thing that makes you happy, you probably should go out there and find other things that make you happy.
100%.
Right? Especially 100%. With Gen Pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to that scenario you were talking about. At the end of the day, weightlifting has this weird thing where the coach's opinion outweighs the athlete's opinion. And I think that comes from a history of coaches giving their time for free. So the athletes feel like they owe the coach everything. In reality, in professional sports, the athlete is most important, right? They dictate what goes on, and they hire out. And if you're in that model, which is a safer model, a smarter model, as an athlete, you need to know you're hiring a coach for a reason, but that coach needs to also realize that, you know, they're being hired, they're being paid for their advice. They need to step up and be like, I need to look out for the athlete's long-term potential.
There's two sides to that coin, because then the other side is if you're being paid for your time, and let's just say it's your sole income, there's a possibility that you want to keep this person as a paying client. So then you might navigate conversations, even though it's not really what you feel, because they're a source of your income. You want to tell them what they want to hear.
For sure, but they're going to leave you anyway when they're injured.
Potentially.
Right? They're not going to hang around if they can't perform the sport that they paid you to coach them in.
That's true.
So either way, it's in your best interest to make sure that they can perform for the longest period of time.
And I think that's the best way to go about it. Whether it's free or it's paid becomes... I feel like no matter what happens, whether it's free or it's paid, it doesn't make a difference.
I think it does make a difference.
How so?
It's just like I see the way athletes behave around coaches around gyms and coaches that they do not pay for, and how athletes behave and how coaches behave around like a business transaction.
Right.
And I'm not saying that like one is better than the other, but there's this weird expectation that old school coaches have. And I've seen it, man. I've seen the way like certain coaches treat their athletes and how certain athletes treat their coaches. And I'm like, you know, that's a strange relationship that you have. Where it's simple. Again, going back to complexity, having like a business transaction simplifies the relationship. It's no longer like, are you my surrogate father, mother? You know, I'm paying you to, you know, do this work for me, and I expect, you know, results, and I will do my best to get those results. But I don't owe you anything.
Yeah.
You know,
Because I paid for it.
I paid for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a safer way to be. Because you see that, right? You see this weird surrogate father situation happen all the time.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, and I can see some.
And you're in this world more than I am. Like, I've always paid for coaching, and my athletes have always, you know, paid money to come to here. And, you know, part of that transaction is that first off, they're putting their faith and trust in me to make them better, keep them performing, keep them injury free. But you come from the other side where, you know, you see a lot of scenarios where athletes are brought in as professional athletes. They might not have to pay their coach or membership, but then there's this weird give and take.
Yeah, because then I think when you remove money from the equation, what it comes down to is your word, really. It's just these people as who they are. I can give you an example of myself when I do things for free. When I do things for free, I just love to do what I'm doing. And the second thing is, I can be completely honest, because I don't want your money. I'm not doing it for the money. If I think that what I'm about to tell you don't want to hear, I can still say it. I'm still going to say it. I mean, I still do that now, even with paying clients.
Yeah.
But back when I first started my own, going out on my own, doing my own thing, the point of the free stuff was to just be not constrained by money. Because when you're first starting out, like you're potentially not making that much, right? Because you don't have a business client base yet.
For sure.
So then it plays on the back of your mind. And I don't think that I have that much of, I guess, strength that I can be in the red and look at this person and go, fuck, I don't know what to do here. Do I think of this guy as a dollar sign, potentially, or do I give them do I just give them the wholehearted truth? And so I started doing things for free. So I just went, fuck it. I'm not gonna charge anyone anything. I'm just gonna do it for free.
Yeah.
And I did for a bit. And then what happened? These people started actually becoming my clients. But don't get me wrong, I turned away people. I saw them once, said what I had to say, and then they never came back. Good. I didn't violate my own word. I didn't waste any of your time. No one paid anything for anything. Cool. Move on. But that's just me. I can see definitely what you're saying about this weird relationship.
But you had this expectation of what you're getting out of giving something for free, which was you were like, you know what? I'm going to just put out into the universe these vibes, this thought, this work. And the athlete or whoever my client is going to either take it or they're not going to take it. And then I'm done with it. If there is some sort of cyclical relationship that comes after that, that's a different story, and you're gonna have to reassess. But you can see how that's different to what I'm talking about, right?
Yes. So again, it comes down to the individual. But yeah, I can definitely see what your the money thing. I think it's more binding. It's more binding, and as long as there's clear roles and expectations, it's better. But yeah, the surrogate stuff, yeah, I can see it.
And to be honest, there's an easy way to get past this without charging. You just have a contract.
Yes.
You say, hey, I'm going to be a coach for this amount of time. We can reassess at the end of this. These are what I want out of you. This is what you want out of me.
Mm-hmm.
That's our relationship drawn up in a contract. We're not lovers. We're not family. This is how it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Athlete-coach relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because that shit's intimate anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Oh man.
being in a coach-athlete relationship is difficult to navigate. You're seeing someone literally every day, sometimes more than your partner.
Mm-hmm.
So
I would argue more. If you're in the elite world, it's more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and you're having out of hours contact where you have to call on the phone. You have to have advice on, hey, Asada just rocked up. It's 3 a.m. I just gave my sample. Just wanted to ring you and tell you.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, you don't have to tell me that.
Unless there's something else you want to tell me. What did you do?
I went out to a party. Someone spiked my drink.
That's okay. It's only in comp that you get tested for that stuff. It's fine.
No, you don't understand. It was us three.
You said it'd make me perform better. Yeah, nah. You don't have to call your coach if you got blood tested or we tested, guys. It's like, it doesn't make a difference. Unless you're concerned and you just want to chat.
Yeah.
In any case, the coach probably isn't the person. Like, go call your girlfriend or your boyfriend or something.
But you know what I'm saying. Like, that went on a weird tangent, but like, it's a weird relationship to, and if you have drawn up like contract, that'll help you out immensely.
Yeah, and you'll find that potentially with that strategy, you're gonna have to add more stuff in.
Yeah.
On both sides. Yeah, if there's anything I learned about coaching now that I'm doing the coaching thing, I'm being an athlete, I've trained people for a long time. It's so multifactorial and multi-dimensional that you can't escape. No matter what, you can't escape. If you're holistic in your thinking, you can't escape that social side. You can't escape that psychological side. I mean, you say you hope you're only in charge of the biological side, but you're not. Your program has a very real effect on someone's psyche and their social life. So one of the conversations I had recently was with a client of mine who really wants to make the next Com Games. And I told her, okay, so it's not just the program that I'm going to give you. You need to understand that probably within the last 18 months of your journey, if you stick with it, you have no life. It's an obsession. You're going to need to be on top of your sleep. You're going to need to be on top of your food. You're going to be on top of your training. What's going to get you there is your ability to stay with these things. But then what comes along with that is beyond just what it is. To be on top of your food, this might mean you're going to miss out on outings with people. I don't want you to be that person that brings a takeaway container with boiled eggs and chicken. That sucks. So either you control what's happening in the morning and you change your macros so that you account for that at night, or you just don't go.
Yeah.
But it's not just the food, right? It's like what comes with it. It's the social side. And you might not see your spouse if you're working both 8 to 5, and you got to go home and be in bed by, say, 9, and you got to eat. You might not have conversations with your spouse. So it's not just about you anymore when you do that sort of thing. And I had to lay it all down with her. And I said, it's going to get dark as well, because you're going to feel very lonely. You're on your own, really. Can you, 3 years from now, do you think you'd be able to handle that? And the first thing that came back at me was, well, I'm already only sleeping 4.5 to 5 hours a night. And I asked her why. And it was a work thing.
Yeah.
Already, you've got a barrier. So I said, either you change your work if you want to make it, or you have to accept that you're not going to be performing at your highest potential. And that's your risk to weigh. I'm telling you right now, you'll need 7. You're not that special. Everyone at the highest level needs their sleep.
At least 7.
At least 7, yeah. So if you can't match that at the moment, and then then it moves on, right? Because then you're working that much because you need that money for something.
Yeah.
Pay rent. Okay, well if you don't work that much, then you can't pay rent. Then here, you've got another pressure on you now because of your commitment to the games. Okay, well what does that lead to? Potentially, if you're living with someone, they need to pick up the difference in rent. What does that do to them? And so I make it very, very, very encompassing, everything that's going to happen, potentially, if you're going to go for a big commitment like elite sport.
Well, it has to be a holistic approach, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you guys haven't heard the first episode I ever did with Phil, it's a good one, and
Yay.
it really does delve into the sacrifices. That whole series that we did with all the Com Games athletes.
Yeah.
Was the one thing that came after another was just like, oh yeah, I couldn't do this. Oh yeah, I couldn't do that. Oh, that beer that you really want at the end of the day after you've had a hard day of work.
Or the gin and tonic.
Yeah, or the gin and tonic.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't have that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In fact, I couldn't even go to work.
Yeah.
Everyone moved their entire lives around.
Yep.
For that one goal.
Mm-hmm.
And we only talked to the 7 that made it.
Exactly. So I have my heart goes out to everyone who committed to that journey. And it's not just Com Games. It goes out to anyone who has something similar. Not just in the sporting world, but if you're an entrepreneur, running a company, whatever. When we dedicate everything to that, unless you've lived that life, you really can't understand what it's like. It's so, I'm not going to say it's lonely, but you're in your own head a lot. It's a lot of it is your ability to handle the pressures that you put on yourself. Because it's all by choice.
Yeah.
It's all by choice. And you can't blame anyone. You chose it. So that's hard. That's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, imagine sending yourself to hell just for the hope that you can do 6 lifts on one day and maybe
make it.
Maybe make it, maybe not, maybe medal, maybe not.
Yeah.
Probably not in Australia.
I like that you brought that up because you and I are both Jordan Peterson fans.
Yeah.
Right. And he talks a lot about how to find your best self, you have to go slay the dragon and go into hell, be in the belly of the beast. And it's funny, you just reminded me that that's exactly what you do. To commit to that, the sacrifice is huge, and you go straight down. And I'm sure every single person who tried for the Com Games went to a very, very, very dark place. And you just somehow come out the other side. And then if you succeeded, that's great. If you didn't, that's great too, because you know you've got it in you to commit to a journey. I'm sorry you didn't make it. You come out better. You just come out with this weird thing, like it's this confidence that you can grind, you can kind of put yourself through hell, and you're sure you can do it again.
This is weird. This just brings up this weird thought in my head. There are all these guys that do like Spartan races and Tough Mudders and things that are really tough, things that really suck. And in fact, like a few weeks ago, I had a girl on that does like Spartan agoge races and things like that.
Yeah. What's an agoge race?
It's like have you read Spartan the Fuck Up?
No.
It's just it's basically a race where they just put you through hell. You don't know where it ends.
Oh.
You don't know where it just starts, and then you just keep going. Could be 24 hours. It could be whatever.
I've got 2 mates who I know would fucking love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're crazy.
The weird thing though is like with a lot of those things, it's hell for hell's sake. There is no objective measure at the end.
Yeah.
Whereas what we're talking about is you're putting yourself through hell because there's the smallest chance that it's going to pay off.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's benefit to doing those things just hell for hell's sake, or do you think there always has to be a goal at the end?
But I think there is a goal with those people.
No, not with the people that are performing at high level. I'm just talking about like Tough Mudder and just Spartan races.
Yeah. No, I think there is a goal with those people. They want that feeling of having completed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the goal for those people. And do I think that Spartan races and all that stuff is good for you physically without any prior training and just as a 6-week, let's do this together as friends? No, I think it's a terrible idea. I think you're putting yourself at a risk that far outweighs the benefit that you'll get. If you train for it, great. I think it's just a lot of fun. You're just bringing yourself into a situation that's full of variety. It's got a good community. It's going to challenge you. Great. Good for you. But I think to answer your question, it's people just like that feeling of getting put through complete torture and coming out the other end and going, oh yes, I did that.
Mm.
That's why I think that's why people like movies as well.
Wait, is that why people like scary movies? Because I hate scary movies.
I think so. I think people like scary movies because of the thrill it provides. Some people just like that they can put themselves through that. Some people like it because it's a group of friends and it's that common struggle that's funny. And
that's why people love CrossFit, right?
It's that common struggle.
Yeah. We went through that together. We survived.
Yeah.
There's a camaraderie. We all feel euphoric because we just trained our butts off.
Yeah, and there's a big support network that comes with it. I think that's all really, really good. It's just, is the torture planned and programmed? That's a different story. But going back to my initial point about the movies, most of the best movies are when the main character is kind of like either a fallen hero, he's good but went down, or he's shit and went up. And he faces a villain, / whatever, complexity, gets beat up, he loses, comes back, or she loses, and then triumphs in the end.
The hero's journey.
The hero's journey. You don't know why you like that, but you do. You don't really see a movie where it's like...
You realize you're ruining movies for everyone, right? Like,
yeah.
If you tell people about the hero's journey, then they're like, all of these films are the same.
Well, they are. But you're still going to watch them and you're still going to like them because it appeals to something within you that you resonate with, which is struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I learned this from one of Jordan Peterson's podcasts, but also just an observation I made with video games as well. It's all the same. Hero, fight the monster. At the end, you get something. You win. And it's no different from a movie.
100%.
Yeah, so it's that common struggle that people like. And to add as an extension, those Spartan stuff, those obstacle races. Now, this is completely intuitive, so there's no statistical backing here, but I've observed from practice and the conversations I've had that the ones who tend to do this stuff are the ones who don't have a very exceptionally challenging work life. That's what I've observed. Yeah. Usually it's like just a cruisy job, not really hard. And then,
or they've finished the tough job.
Yeah, and then they
They're
do something
looking for
like
a
that.
new challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I know dudes, and I even coach a guy who's like this super successful dude, and he loves these races. And I'm pretty sure it's because like he did the hard slogs when he was younger, and now he's just like, I need the fire to keep burning.
Yeah.
I need to do something else.
Yeah, yeah. It's just that struggle. It's good though. It means that everyone likes inherently to struggle, and to struggle you probably improve. Yeah.
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, let's put it this way. I find if you had to watch your own life as a movie right now, and you're the hero, have you fallen? Has there been a villain / complexity? And are you hoping to triumph?
I might have just met my villain.
Who? Yeah, but I mean, I think that's a good way of looking at it at the moment.
Or are you just a supporting character? I could be the Samwise to your Frodo if you want.
I could be the Sauron through some sort of Middle Earth. Like, all those physios who just be telling people go rest from your squats, or giving people eccentric squats on top of their program. You know what? I could be their Sauron right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could be.
Yeah. Or I could be a weightlifter Gandalf, giving them the guidance to better tendons. Yeah, there was a guy in
Or you could be the weightlifter's tens machine. Just it'll get better.
Yeah. Get the shockwave thing. Actually, I don't really know the evidence behind shockwave, so I've got no opinion on that.
So I think there is like some benefit to shockwave, especially if you have like weird like bone spur issues and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know the evidence as well,
Yeah.
but Kush is playing around with it right now.
Yeah,
And
cool.
she's like, this might actually have some. I mean, everything has some benefit. It's just like, is it worth your time to do that?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, risk. It's that cost benefits analysis.
It's cost benefit. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily risk benefit. That might be risky for your wallet if you go to a physio and they, charge you what they charge and then put you on ultrasound for half an hour and leave you there.
Yeah. But another point I wanted to add on the tendon stuff is intrinsically in your program, there's something that set you off. If you haven't done anything extra, intrinsically to the program, something set you off, and the fix is in that program as a base layer.
I
You can look at other stuff. Hold on, let me finish my point. So, intrinsically to that program, it's caused something to flare up. Now, the fix at a very simplistic, large level is in the program, but that's not to say that there's something within the program that tells you other specific areas that need to be addressed. So, I'll give you an example. So, split jerking. If you split jerk and you start getting hip pain, posterior hip pain, and the program shows that you've been adding like an extra, let's just say 10%, 20% volume to your split jerking.
And that can come from intensity or just like rep sets.
Yeah. I find that it's usually the rep stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you start getting that sort of issue.
Just for people at home to know what the difference is.
Yes. So you start getting that sort of issue, and you look at the program. For me, anyway, I look at the program and I think, okay, something about your split jerking volume is giving you grief. So let's start there first. Let's reduce the volume for one, and then let's look at something else. So without going too deep into the biomechanics of that movement, that's where you can potentially base your your theory on the issue. Something within the split jerk is causing them grief. What is it? And is it simple? Is volume and load? Reduce that first. Does it get better? Great. Cool. Start with that. But what else can we look at And then that's when you start going to the very specific, like what's your hip doing, what's rib cage doing, and other stuff. Yeah, but that's the base layer that starts. Go simple, and then start going more complex. If, in my opinion,
Yeah.
if you're
I'll tell you mine after. I'm
Cool.
listening to yours first.
Cool. If you're starting already with the specifics,
Yeah.
without that reduction in and what drives an overuse problem, I argue that you're wasting valuable time. Let the place settle, reduce it first, and then look for other causes after. And I mean, this can be done within the first consult.
Yeah.
Right, but that's the key point for me first. If you have like a sore tendon or a sore hip, and you can clearly objectify an increase in volume, an acute, like a dumb increase in volume, reduce that first as the base layer, and then start looking at things that you think might be causing that specific area to be a problem. Yeah, can I hear your opinion now?
Oh yeah. Okay. So I mean, I agree with the precursors to your point. I just don't agree that the programming is what I look at first.
Okay.
If someone, for example, if an athlete who's been training with me for a fair bit of time, I'm lucky that I have athletes that I've trained for like 6 years plus.
That says a lot about you.
Right? Like, so
Good things.
usually if that's the case, there's a reason that they've played up. The program doesn't really change that much. The flavor of a program does.
Yep.
But really, like, what can you do? Snatch, clean, jerk, back squats, pull, what?
10-second eccentrics.
But like, there's not really much that you're gonna change in terms of like the movement that you choose.
Yep.
But what can change often is just like the loading mechanics, right? So when you talk about simple, like I would ask a few questions. I'd be like, instead of looking straight at the program, I would say, what have we changed? What have you changed? Right? And you know, we talked about like this holistic view of things before. It could be something as simple as, hey, I got new weightlifting shoes.
That's true.
Now my joint angle has changed. The program, I've actually been squatting the exact same weight for the last few weeks, but now the joint angle's changed because of these shoes. Or, you know, like I got new arch support. Now everything has changed from the ground up, right? So those things are the things I would ask about first, and that takes 2 minutes to do. And it's a lot easier than fixing, like changing the program. We just have to unload then from that. Like, I mean, the fix is, I guess, in the program, or you say, hey, you know, like we've got to slowly accommodate you to these new shoes. You're not wearing them the entire session. You got to keep both pairs for a while. I'm going to do some things with them, some things without them. You might be able to snatch in your shoes right away because the joint angle is different. You know, you sit into your hips more. But with the clean and jerk, we got to use your old shoes for a bit, and vice versa.
I agree.
No, I want you to rebut.
No, I don't, but I don't want to because it's a great point, and it needed to be said, and now it's something that's going to tick in my mind as well. Because I've seen this clinically, and it could be something as simple as in a runner, they're getting hamstring problems because they increase their stride length.
Yeah.
Like, why did you do that? Because I saw on the interweb somewhere that increasing stride length is the key to being faster. It's like, well, sure, but you're now having proximal hamstring pain. Why don't you try just running normal stride length, natural for your body? They're like, oh, it doesn't hurt no more. Oh, I wonder why. But yeah, no, that's a great point you raise. And that's why I like coming on this podcast, because you give me this different perspective. And I know my perspective's only one layer, and it needs to be heard. But then your one adds together, and then we get to this nice cake in the middle.
It's cute, right?
Yeah. Forget about Yannick and Vu. Yannick and Vu were supposed to be here today, but like, yeah, this is better. We should just do this between the two of us more often. Sorry, Yannick. Sorry, Vu.
No, I really enjoy talking to you because of this stuff. Because, like, I mean, I bounce ideas off you today. Like, as soon as you walked in, my first thing was like, hey, what do you think about these jerk positions? Which is better?
And I was like, oh.
This
I
is a weird
enjoy
way to
that.
start a
No,
conversation.
but I really enjoyed that too, because I get excited looking at that stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's just basic chit chat, it's like, well, not much has happened between now and when I saw you last that I can really talk about for a long period of time. Yep. Definitely a tangent, but what I liked about that coaching conversation just now was, if you're a young coach or you're a young trainer out there, and you don't really have that holistic view yet, please consider it, because like we were talking about before, the role that you play as a coach/trainer is so much more than what you think you've signed up for. And the longer you're in it, the longer you realize what you're really doing is you're managing people. You're giving them a program, yes, and they're going to train, yes, that's part of it. But there's a lot of other concerns that will come with it. For one, and this is something that was brought to my attention by Steph, she's a dietitian. What you give as feedback, whether it's positive or negative, may not be a good thing for that person. So in the context of somebody who is losing weight, for example. Now let's just say their goal is to lose weight. And you give them feedback. So you say something like, hey, you look great. You're losing weight. Like you're in shape. You look amazing. Now that could be considered positive reinforcement, and no harm, right? Because it's positive. But then what happens when I'm not going to say reverse, but they don't want that anymore? You've positively reinforced an image that is constructed through behavior. And that behavior may be actually destructive for this person. So for example, you're losing weight, you're sticking to a really strict diet regime. And we see this all the time, 8 to 12 weeks of strict dieting. Your weight comes down, you look better, and I say that in quotation marks. You get all these compliments, and one day you go, I'm done with this diet. I'm going to go back to somewhat of a reverse, but there's still going to be balance. So you may potentially, you're just living a more balanced sort of lifestyle. Now, naturally, probably your body composition will change. You're going to start coming back up slightly, and the compliments potentially not there anymore. So what does that do to someone who had all this acknowledgement and positive reinforcement from this grueling journey, and now that's been withdrawn? Like, what happens? You don't know what happens. That's how, and then they go to a point where potentially, I've let myself go. I've got to go back on a strict diet to get back to where I was. And it's just this cycle. And that's all from positive reinforcement. On the flip side, you could give someone a negative compliment, a negative feedback, and they could be the best thing ever for them. I tell my clients now when they flake, you're being a flake. I'm negative. I don't tell them that they can do it because I don't know. No one knows whether you can do it. You can't predict the future. I can tell them honestly, this is what I think you'll need to do to get there. But if you say flake, I'm going to call you out for being a flake. You said you were, then you didn't. You're a flake. And you might not feel good about it, but that might be the best thing for you. Then again, you could say the same thing about positive compliments too. You positively reinforce a behavior, and that could be a really good thing. So for example, I try not to, I still catch myself sometimes. I try to reinforce and give positive feedback for something that they've done that they said they were going to do. So I move away from external. I don't like to compliment on appearance or how much weight you've lifted. if you're one of my lifters, I try and compliment you on how well you finish your extension or how well you've done your overhead position. It's all about the task itself. It says nothing about you as a person. Because just because you snatch doesn't mean you're a good person. Just because just because you can snatch doesn't mean you're a good person. And just because you miss doesn't mean you're a bad person either. So we have to be picky with what you say.
But if you do miss all the time, then you're a bad person.
You're a bad you're a bad snatcher. Yeah. But then, like, if you miss training sessions,
Then you are a bad person.
then you're just a bad person to a flake to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I like that. It's outcomes, it's not outcome specific. It's not dedication. It's journey specific.
yes,
Yeah, like you are commenting authentically, which reminds me of another podcast.
yeah.
You're speaking authentically about actions rather than things that are outside of the control of that person.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like
And
you can control what you put into your body, but you can't control to an extent what happens when you put it in there, right?
it's a Pandora's box. You can really screw up someone's psyche, and it's dangerous, man. And what the avatar I get in my head is women, young women. It's dangerous for young women already struggle with far more vanity issues than men, I think. Like they're always looking about whether they're pretty, whether the hair looks nice in this, and you can tell because most women generally tend to dress better, take care of themselves more, look better than men. Generally.
That's mean, man.
Let's talk about the grooming side. Like in the grooming side, because they care more. And
I get it.
like in the media, it's projected that way as well. Like women are, as far as I'm concerned, they're paintbrushed more. So when you have
And that's a societal thing that's happened over many, many years of conditioning.
yes, and I'm not saying it's just women; it's men too now, and it's and the health industry now is getting very sexualized. It's already been sexualized for a long time. Look at Men's Health. It's this guy with an 8-pack on the cover saying how my workout to get to 8-pack abs. It's cool. Like you didn't need to put yourself in glossy sweat and showing your 8-pack.
Why?
Because
So pretty.
I like it. And it's the same thing with the women anyway.
Yes.
But with the younger girls, if you're not careful,
I don't think you need to generalize. I think you should say younger people.
younger people. Yeah,
I think
good
boys
point.
and girls equally are under massive pressures to look certain ways. Actually, not even younger people, just people in general.
Yeah, okay, fair. Revise my statement. Just people in general, when you are not careful with what you're saying to these people as feedback, as coaches, unfortunately, some of them will come to us saying, I want to look like this, I want to look like that, I want to look great. I just see that as a danger zone because what happens when you get there and what comes after.
So how do you navigate a conversation when, let's say I come to you and I say, hey, I saw, check out this magazine, see this guy, this is what I want to look like.
Yep.
You know, I'm a couple of kilos overweight. Like, you've been coaching me for a while.
Yep.
Where do we go from here? What do you say?
I direct their attention to the habits.
Yeah.
I direct their attention to the behaviors that are consistent with potentially what's going to happen at the end, but are more a better focus. So usually that conversation will look, the mechanism behind that is just improving your diet and just keeping your exercise the same or just making it a bit harder. So then I'll just move the conversation in a way where I say to them, look, this is a product of just behavior and habits in your life that you should focus on. Whether it's going to get you to that image, I'm not sure. And I don't think you should focus on that. I just want you to focus on the discipline it takes to stick to this day-to-day habitual behavior
Yeah.
that's that might get you to that goal. That's what I tell them to focus on. And that's it. Yeah, I don't like to say, yeah, you're going to look amazing, you're going to look great, because I don't know. It's just my perspective or what. I don't even think it looks great.
Yeah.
You do, but I don't think you should, because that's paintbrushed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just direct their attention to the habits.
What if someone brings you a picture and you're like, hey, I want to look like this guy, and you're like, look, you're never going to look like Lasher, but I can assure you that we'll get you snatching and clean jerk.
Yeah, I just say, well, just go move to Georgia, get on some Georgian diets, and you'll be fine.
Have you been watching any of the World Championships?
No, I did have a funny conversation though with somebody about Lasher's muscle snatch.
Yeah.
He's like, oh man, did you see Lasher muscle snatch 140? Okay, no. He's like, oh, it was so amazing. Dude, to me, that's so boring. It's like, cool, he muscle snatch 140.
What would excite you?
When I think I've spoken to you about this before, but in weightlifting, what excites me is if I watch a friend compete.
Yeah.
Because I know their struggle. So it's actually really exciting for me at the moment to see how Yannick's going to do at Nationals. I'm really excited about that.
You don't care about me?
Are you going?
This guy.
Shit, sorry. You didn't talk about it, that's why. I didn't know you were going.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll be excited to watch you. I like it when it's my friends. I like it when...
I can't believe you care about Yannick more than me. That's so mean.
No, it's equal. I care about you guys both equally. You shouldn't care about why I care anyway.
I do though. Because the other day you were like, hey, you'll never make a good snatcher. And I was like, oh.
No, I didn't. I said you're a great snatcher.
No, I'm just making fun of what we talked
Oh
about.
yeah,
earlier.
I wasn't sure why Andy is such a great jerker, considering your arms are so long.
They are very long.
Yeah, I wasn't sure why you're such a good jerker, but that's the beauty of the movement. Some people just get it and they have the limb lengths and levers that suggest otherwise.
I don't think I'm a good jerker though. I think I could be better. I'm definitely better than Yannick.
Yeah, well, Yannick's, yeah. Let's not talk about that. Yeah, Yannick, you know what? He tries really hard. Look, Yannick just tries really hard.
Yeah, so you're excited when you see a friend compete?
Yeah, I like it when it's tight.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be World Championships. It could just be
A
state
battle.
championships, just a battle.
Yeah.
Like I was excited in the 67s when Daniel Wong and Ken had a battle, and they're nowhere near the top, but it's just cool because
Yes.
it pushes each other.
It's also fun to coach.
Yes, and that's the third thing. I like watching the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, the board is so intricate when it's a tight competition, and I can kind of see what they're gonna go for. Yeah, but apart from that, there's not much other reason that I watch weightlifting. I don't really. Oh no, and technique. If it's really, really, really good, or it's just outrageous, then I'll watch it for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But I won't.
This is like the sunset.
Yeah. I won't grovel over it. It doesn't. It's not one of the things I check.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I like watching weightlifting, but again, it's the same thing. I love the hero's journey. So, I feel like everything we talk about every time is so cyclical. Like, we always can come back to it.
Yeah.
Whereas that doesn't happen a lot with conversations. But with you and me, I feel like it always happens.
Yeah.
Off tangent. Yeah, sorry. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, I like the hero's journey.
Yep.
So, if I know something about the lift and how important that is, or what's happened to that point, it's a tearjerker for me. So, if you go back and watch Matthias Steiner winning
Yes.
the gold
Yes.
after his wife died,
Yep.
and he had to overcome hardship.
Yep.
Who cares that, and you can tell that story anyway. Like, maybe there weren't lifters at that competition that would have otherwise been there or whatever, but watching that, I'll watch that documentary over and over again.
Yep.
because it just brings a tear to my heart, tear to my eye. Or Oscar Figueroa. Is it Oscar Figueroa?
Yeah, the cervical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched. Sorry to interrupt, but that surgeon in that documentary, when he was like, "Yes, I'm gonna make you snatch again," that surgeon just said it with so much glee and confidence that I know he took so many shots to take that.
Yeah.
It was just too staged. Sorry, go on.
I know, I agree. And this goes back to like, and maybe this is just a surgeon thing, but way too confident in their abilities.
Yes.
And I mean, for like nerve impingement stuff and whatever, like surgery's not always the best choice too. So yeah, we'll take that with a grain of salt, but the story was good. And it was very cool to see him finally win gold, retire, but now he's back.
No, it's back.
So
Yeah. I wonder why he's back though.
some people just, he hasn't found a Spartan race that challenges him the same way.
Yeah. I wonder. I mean, I retired for 3 or 4 months, and I came back.
Yeah, but you retired because you wanted to. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was talking to Yannick about this before I came. I said, if I did do that, I would be the dumbest person coming back 4 months after retiring. Like, that's not even how it works, right? If you want to dodge a drug test, you got to lay it off for like 2 years. I come back after 4 months, and it's like, either this guy's a supreme idiot,
Yeah.
right? Or he's found some miracle drug somewhere, and he's just got his biochemistry down pat.
Coincidentally, most drug bans are only 2 years. So if you get banned for drugs, you can come back in 2 years stronger than ever.
Yeah, just follow me on Instagram and you'll see all my strength gains. Yeah, but like I've come back. Now that we're on that topic, I've come back and I am stronger though. Like I'm not dramatically stronger, but I feel stronger.
Yeah.
And I've just found that 4 months off without having that pressure of having to compete did things for me that I don't think I could have got anywhere else.
Yeah.
Just having, like I've been competing for 4 years, training for 6 with the intention to compete. And the sacrifice I was involved with Games it's mentally taxing. Like hero's journey. I had my hero's journey. I came out the end of it. There was a triumph. But after that, man, you're tired.
Yeah.
You're really, really tired. And then you can't come back to face another story yet.
Yes.
And I needed that time off. I still trained, but there was no pressure on it. There was no expectation. I wasn't actually, when I retired, I actually thought I'd retire for good.
Yeah.
I-
We talked about this, remember?
Yeah. But then the more time I had away, and the better my body recovered.
It kept coming back.
Yeah, and it was mainly because I started bringing my lifters to a certain level where I thought I really want to compete with these guys.
Yeah.
Together. I really want to make nationals with some of these guys, and we could go together.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. And then as I got stronger and stronger, I thought, hold on a second, this new 67 class is exactly what I wanted back when I was a 62.
Yeah.
And so here I am, back
It's
into
exciting, man.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. And I enjoy watching your progress as well. I really particularly like what you've done with your squats and stuff.
it. Yeah.
You know, to go full circle
Yeah.
again, we talked about like that, everyone has motivation. Everyone's like, I want to make the Com Games.
Yep.
But the discipline to actually achieve that goal has to way outlast that motivation.
Yes.
So the discipline to not add kilos to the bar, to take kilos off, to listen to your body, to listen to your coach, listen to your physio, to have like a singular direction. Will this make the boat go faster? Which is another book you should read.
What's it called?
It's about the Swedish sailboat. Basically, it's these guys that were competing at the Olympics for sailboat racing.
Right.
I think it was sailboat racing. I only read the prologue.
Yep.
But, every decision they made was, will this improve us?
Yes. Yes.
If it won't, we won't do it.
Yep.
And they did that for 4 years.
Yeah. And did they win gold?
I don't know, I haven't finished the book.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm assuming if it became a book, they came pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Well,
that's the
Cool
same.
Runnings was a movie and they didn't win.
Well, I think that's the same thing with our craft as coaches. For Gen Pop, it's a bit different. Sometimes there is no aim. The aim is just to have fun and stay active. I think that's a great aim, and in fact, I think most people should strive for that. But for the elite guys, is this, whatever this is this going to make me better? Is this going to add kilos to me? And sometimes it's not about more, it's about less.
Yeah.
And at the moment, with my background, my philosophy with the programs, the training is, the more sessions you get in at a submax, relatively injury-free, risky zone, all that is needed is time, and then you're gonna get to a good level, a high level. Can't rush it. I think there's too much rushing, and when you get that rushing, you're putting yourself at so much risk. And as an athlete, you can't train hard all the time.
100%.
Yeah, there needs to be, I think there's too much of, if we had to put it into left and right, right would be train hard all the time, and left would be don't train at all. If you're in the middle, about 6, maybe a bit to the right, and you did that every single day, or like consistently, over 2 or 3 years, you're in a good place. You don't miss any training sessions. Go in there, don't leave feeling too tired, come back the next day.
And, you know, like, you can look at the evidence. The person that is the strongest with our drugs is the person that has trained the longest. Most uninterrupted days of training.
Pretty much.
Right?
Yes.
So you've taken that to the extreme and said, I'm just going to teeter that line, because that's what progress is. It's teetering the line of that risk reward that we talked about.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I'm going to be here. If I go here, then my progress might go up like fast and exponential curve, but my risk of injury also goes up.
Yeah, Smolov.
Yeah. The Smolov is very high risk, potentially high reward in the short term.
Yes.
How often do people keep those squat gains after they've done Smolov? You don't keep the squat gains.
You keep the
do
you keep the tendinopathy. That's right. Yeah.
But you know what you can do is, if you do Smolov on an incline board,
extra, you will get the strongest tendons. Yeah, and there's as an extension to that, in one of the concepts in sports science is minimal effective dosage.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with this concept?
Yeah.
So as a PT coach, whatever, and as an athlete, you need to understand that the hard part is not giving you a lot, because we know giving you a lot over the short term is going to improve you. The hard part is giving you just enough that you get better without leaving you feeling like you've trained. That's so hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the coaches who can do that, are the amount of monitoring that they have to go through to watch you, and for you to not do dumbass stuff in your program is huge.
Or to take into account your dumbass stuff.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, I saw what you did yesterday on the gram, or I saw what you did yesterday on the gym. I can't take, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Like, I understand that you did that, but that means that today, on your actual planned heavy day, we're not going heavy.
Yeah, and that's, I love that you say that, because a program is a program. But you as the coach, if your athlete doesn't know any better, you need to make that call for them. If they've gone out partying the day before, haven't slept, and they're here to do their heavy day, tell them to go home.
Yeah.
Or do something light. You're in no shape to do something heavy. But the program says it's max out day. Yeah, but you're not ready to max. Not today.
And I think that's a big thing that it's hard for people to get, because like they like to follow the program to a T. But I always tell my guys, like, for example, Zosh came in yesterday. She's like, hey, I'm like really jacked up. Like, I feel really compressed from all the stuff we've been doing. I don't really feel like deadlifts. She's someone that just doesn't like deadlifts to begin with. I'm like, okay, that's all right. Let's do your squats today, your front squats today. And then we'll do some decompressing stuff or jerks or whatever you like to do. We'll deadlift tomorrow. it doesn't hurt the program that you've switched the order of things, because what matters is that the emphasis of the program, or what you want the program to do, is happening. Sometimes it might be okay if you squat Monday, snatch, clean and jerk Tuesday, because you want to snatch, clean and jerk on tired legs. As a coach, you want them to do that. But other times you might want the emphasis to be the snatch, clean and jerk, so you need to switch them around.
Yes.
And then the order of things matters.
Yep.
But for the most part, as a coach, and then that's a real cool thing about having a coach, is that, you know, they have your best interests at heart. They know what you're gonna do. Hopefully.
Yeah, and if your coach tells you not to do something or go home, don't hate, or you might hate them at the time, but it takes guts to say that as a coach, especially if you guys are early on in your relationship. Yeah, it takes guts to say that for a coach, because they're balancing between what you want to hear and what they think is actually best for you. Yeah, there's so much that goes into what you just said as well, with like a comment from your lifter. Nowadays, sometimes my assessment is, my client comes in, how was your day? And if the response that comes back to me is, oh yeah, it was all right, the program has changed.
Yeah.
Already. And you can tell by their voice, their body language, their eyes. It's more sunken usually, and we're tapping into more nervous system stuff now. But like, if you've got someone like that and you know they've had a stressful day, probably they're not going to have a good day. You're pushing them at like very heavy weights. So then move them into something more submax, more rhythmic, more para, sympathetic. Get them to just get into a movement, a rhythm, and they're going to leave the session feeling probably better, instead of pushing hard and failing and feeling worse.
Yeah, I completely agree. Another thing we completely agree on.
Yeah, we just get each other.
We're on the same wavelength.
Yeah,
and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's so big, man. I'm so glad that I've got the kind of background that I have, because now I can just synthesize the physio stuff, and it's not just the biomechanics from that. It's like pain education, it's the psychological stuff, it's the social stuff that I'm very aware of from being in practice.
Yeah, and it's the good and the bad.
Yes.
Right, like you can synthesize all the important, relevant, good information you got in physio school, and you know, maybe some of the information that wasn't so great in your clinical practice or even in school. And that's the key, right?
Yeah, there's lots of coaching and stuff, that coaching and the good and the bad.
And that's the same thing, yeah.
Right, and then it just comes together, and then you have this view that is so unique. Like, my view is unique, your view is unique, and there's just so much to be shared. Like, I'd love for all the coaches to come together and speak not just about the program.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about the program. All the top athletes, man, there are some personalities out there, and how you navigate that personality is so unique. So much skill.
And that's why a head coach of a team isn't necessarily the best personal coach in the world, right? Their job is to get the best performance on the day out of a multitude of personalities. And the best personal coach might not be the best competition coach. The best competition coach might not be the best head coach. You know, like all of these things.
Yeah, it all comes down to the role, like what you're expected to do on that day. And I like that you bring that up, because as an athlete, if you feel like you're working with a coach that doesn't get you, like let's just say in a head coach scenario, national team scenario, of course, he doesn't know you.
Yeah.
And it takes time to understand someone. Some people are better at it, but he actually probably has no business trying to understand you either. He needs to make the team perform, get points, whatever it is. That means if your personal best is X, Y, and Z, I want you to hit X, Y, and Z. That's his role, and you should understand that. And as an athlete, yes, you're doing it for yourself, for sure. But if you're part of a team and you want to be a part of this team, there's a team suggests that there's a purpose, a joint purpose.
Yes.
And if you're part of a team, your role is to contribute to this joint purpose.
As long as you want to be part of the team.
If you want to be a part of this team, exactly.
Because remember also that we're in an individual sport, so that gets dicey sometimes.
Yes.
And we had the situation where at Arafura, a couple of athletes didn't hit the totals that they needed to because they were chasing points over chasing the totals for Robies.
Oh, really?
That's what I heard.
Oh, points for the country.
No, yeah, points for the country.
But they were chasing individual points.
Instead of, they should have been chasing individual points
I see.
for their Robies,
Right.
which matters because at the end of the day, all of our funding is, like if we think about Australia as a team and Australian weightlifting as the team, then all of their eggs are in the basket of getting people to the Olympics because that's how we get funding.
Right.
We want high placings at the Olympics and Com Games because that's how funding is dictated.
I see.
And that, I mean, that again, that's another place where it's a challenge because you've got these weird relationships forming because of that, right?
Just competing stakeholders.
Yeah, and they, you know, at the end of the day, the athlete competes for themselves. They don't compete. They may not want to compete for the country for the sake of the country, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a challenging thing. But what your original point that's actually important is I'm super blessed and lucky with my background. I, you know, have a background in CrossFit, background in weightlifting. I've done some powerlifting, done some strongman. I bring all of that to the table, and then my partner of 10 years
Wow.
is a physiotherapist.
Yes.
So a lot of my coaching is so colored by that background as well. You know, we opened this gym together. What's the time?
It's almost one.
Okay, cool. You gotta go soon.
Yeah.
So and that, and then on top of that, I have this amazing podcast where I get to talk to a million different people and pick, constantly adding to my knowledge base, constantly adding to what I give to my athletes. And then I also learn from my athletes. When you have an athlete for a long period of time, or even a newer athlete who has a different background, I'm like, oh, you know, like, you teach me some stuff today. And that brings me to the point of what's the cool stuff you're doing with M3 now?
So M3 is my company, and we are doing exactly what we've just spoken about. We're sharing the knowledge across the 5 core disciplines in allied health to young coaches.
Which are the core disciplines?
Physiotherapy. SNC. SNC is not really allied health, but it's part of the health field. Psychology, dietetics, and exercise physiology.
Poor speech paths.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day. Yeah. So we got those 5, and it's
Poor chiros. Poor podiatrists.
podiatrists would be interesting. Chiros, I'm open to the idea. I've got to meet someone first who like, profession doesn't matter. Like, it does, but it doesn't, because you could be a chiro but practice like a physio. You could be a physio but practice like a chiro. You and I both know it doesn't. You could be a PT but just massage people all day. Depends on how you practice. But yeah, so
I'm just teasing.
yeah, but the goal is we want PT to come out / coach to come out having.
And when you talk about PTs, we're an international podcast, so you're talking about
personal trainers. Yeah.
Not capital PT, physiotherapists.
No. So we want personal trainers and coaches and whoever is just working within that movement space to have a core understanding relevant to their practice from the physiotherapy or all 5 of those disciplines. Because you have to know a bit of psychology. You have to know the mechanisms behind motivation and how to actually get that out of someone. It'd be good for you to know dietetics. It'd be good for you to know principles of exercise physiology, programming for the Gen Pop, programming for elite, managing people with clinical conditions, for example. It'd be good for you to know strength and conditioning principles, and then it'd be really good for you to know injury mitigation principles from physiotherapy. And you combine them all together, what you come out with is a coach or personal trainer that is very, very well-rounded in their thinking. So now you've got all these perspectives of how to look at something. Just like how you and I look at the same person, the same problem, and we present two different perspectives. And the best outcome is probably somewhere in the middle between you and I. And that's great. I think that is, the more perspectives you can consider, the better.
For sure.
For the coach, for yourself, anything.
So you have two choices. You either start your own podcast, or how do they find out more about this stuff?
So you can follow us on our Instagram page at m3.initiative. We are thinking of starting a podcast. And so when more details about that happen, it'll come through. We have a website, m3initiative.com. And that's how you find out. You can message me on my Instagram, phillip.pt.
Yeah.
And yeah, we can have a chat, really.
I think it's a really cool thing that you're creating.
Thank you.
And I definitely think, we talked about it before, it's something that should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah. So
So it's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
And I hope it goes well for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So people can find you obviously at phillip.pt
Yep.
on Instagram. Anywhere else that they can find you? Anything else you want to plug? Are you coming to Nationals?
Nah, I won't be. When is it again?
October something.
Okay. Nah.
It's like 2 weeks.
Okay. No. Nah, nothing I want to plug. Just really enjoyed the conversation, and to reiterate, for the tendons. I've got such a soft spot for the tendons. If you're a weightlifter with a tendon problem, wherever you are in the world, you can reach me on Instagram, and I'll give you the best advice I can, considering your situation, without saying that it's the correct answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you the principles behind it. Yeah, too many weightlifters, crossfitters, powerlifters, you guys have too many problems, and I feel like sometimes to answer, you can do already so much more.
Oh, one last thing to
Yes.
add on the tendon stuff.
Yes.
If you need your knee sleeves to perform a full depth squat because your tendons are always sore, you're probably not warming up properly, and two, probably just try to, perform some movements without them, and play with that as well. Just to add to the shoes thing, I see
Yeah.
knee sleeves and knee wraps being overused in training.
Yeah. And belts.
And belts.
Wrist wraps. Yeah.
100%. I mean, all of those things change your biomechanics on such a minute level that will carry over to everything else.
Yes. Yeah, it's to make you understand how minute it is, but could make such a big difference. Just tape your hand, tape your wrist, tape it in a way that you can't really bend your hand back. Now try and reach for something. What happens? In order for you to reach something in front of you, you have to lift your hand up, but you can't anymore. So what do you have to do? You have to lift your shoulder higher. And that's as simple as you can make it. That small change where you can't put your wrist up as much as before now compensates into your shoulder. You have to lift. So you think about how that would manifest itself. Now let's just say it's not a door handle you're doing anymore. Let's just say you're lifting a plate. It's a kilo. You don't have your wrist anymore, so it's more into your shoulder. So cool, that's fine. No problem. Now let's make it 5 kilo weight. Maybe you're doing something in your snatch. You can't bend your wrist back anymore. Where's that gonna go? Somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And that's how you have to think. I like Andy makes it. He says it's minute because it is, but over time, if it's very low load, like a plate, over time, might flare into something. But if it's high load, your time goes out the window. Your risk inherently increases by heaps.
100%. And then that's the other thing. It's this weird triangular effect that if you something's so small downstream can make such a big difference, and the same thing, a big difference somewhere can make such a small change to a small area. And it's, everything's and the last thing is, if you have a wrist injury, your last thing you should look at is getting it fused. Because again, any sort of restriction of mobility that is artificial is going to cause upstream, downstream changes.
Yeah, you'll get arthritis somewhere else. Yeah, your wrist is not moving anymore, so something else has to. Yeah. Oh, so there's one more thing I wanted to bring up. In the rehab world, I advise, when people talk to me about their problem, say a knee problem, if you're getting knee pain from squatting in heels, let's just say there's been no shoe change, it's just the same pair of heels they wear.
High heels?
Yeah, let's just put that. Yeah, so they're just in heels.
So
they're
they work
squatting.
at Sefton and
Yeah, I take on some interesting clients. So let's just say you're doing something like that and you're getting knee pain. It's like, cool, okay, so clearly you have some sort of overloaded joint there. There might be other reasons, but then you go see someone or a coach PT and they go, okay, take off your shoes and let's squat. You squat and you're pain-free. And they're like, oh, it was amazing. Like, I could squat pain-free after one session. I go, well, that's great that you have all this hope and you're pain-free, but what you've done is you've altered the biomechanics, and it's the joint angle that's changed. That's why after one day of being treated, you're feeling better. It doesn't take away the pathology that joint is actually still loaded. Something's happening somewhere else. So I guess where I'm going with this is, it's not hard to modify your pain signal. And you need to know that, because there's this chase for being pain-free. There's this chase for it, and I get it. It freaking sucks, but it takes time to go away. And anything that goes away in like a minute, 2 minutes, it's not probably not true. It's not true improvement. Alter the biomechanics. If you alter the biomechanics of a squat, nothing's really changed at that movement pattern that caused you a problem.
Yeah.
Same thing with hamstring problems and a deadlift, right? If you're hinging a lot, your ass starts hurting. Cool. Okay. Now you try sumos and you're fine. So I'm pain-free now, I'm just going to do sumo. It's like, actually, you still have a pathology at that specific point. You've just altered your biomechanics such that you're not loading that point anymore. And you need to know these things so that in the future, when you go back to that pattern, so you think you're pain-free for a bit, and then you go back to that pattern and it comes back, there's no disconnect there, because you didn't actually put the time in to rehab that specific problem.
And so to simplify what you're saying is that, like, rehab has to just be done.
Yeah.
And it has to be done at the specific joint angles of discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. Like, we want an alteration to the sensation of that tendon pathology, which only happens by doing the movement that hurts and adjusting load and intensity.
Yeah. You wouldn't be here if it didn't hurt at that point. Yeah, and it's a disservice, and it's dishonest to just modify someone's biomechanics and say you're fixed.
Yeah.
Because you're not.
Unless you're modifying their biomechanics in a meaningful way that allows them to retrain the movement that they need to get back to.
Yes.
An example of that is, if we teach you to squat in a way that allows you to be pain-free, but only allow you to squat in that way because it's safer anyway. Like bringing a stance out wider to offload a bad movement pattern to begin with, or something like that.
Or you're just distributing the load between more of your hip and your knee.
That's what I meant. That's what I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
Like
More optimal
more
positions.
optimal movement.
Yeah.
I don't think that's dishonest.
No, not at all. Because you're going to advise them. I suggest that you squat this way.
Yeah.
In the future.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, it's very easy to make a quick change, be like, well, we're done, let's go.
Yeah. It just brings it back to just patience and time. Yeah, you're not going to get better in one session if it's been a long-term thing. Don't look for that. If you look for that and they tell you that, most likely it's not going to be a good outcome.
Yeah.
You got to accept it's going to be a journey, as always. Cool.
Hey guys, you can find Raw Barbell Club on all of our social medias. So that's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram. See what the team is getting up to. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Click that notification bell and you'll be able to see all of our latest training and awesome episodes just like this. Guys, if you really want to help this podcast out, share it. I'm sure Phil will appreciate that.
Yes,
And
please share it. This is a great podcast.
it is a great podcast.
And he's a great guy. Come check out his club as well in Windsor.
And lastly, guys, you can now support this podcast. And making this podcast is a lot of fun, but it does cost us a lot of money. And all we're asking for is a simple donation, the price of a coffee. If every single person that listened donated a coffee, we'd have enough money to make this thing just go on for another couple of months.
And Starbucks price too, okay? None of that $2.50 shit. Starbucks price, like $4.90. Give us the grande price.
Thank you guys so much for listening. And Phil, thank you so much for coming
for having
down
me.
again. I'll see you guys next time. See ya.
If you like that episode, I really think you might like this one. And if you want to search for more episodes, guys, click this little circle thing right here. If you want to stay notified, make sure to click that subscribe button below and click that notification tab.